Hello, my raft. My name is GamePenguin21, and today we're going to be talking about something a little bit interesting for this. Now, to be completely honest, this is probably the most scripted video that I've done as of late, mainly due to the fact that this one actually does have a sort of quote-unquote script for this, and we're going to be talking about Back 4 Blood, the beta that was over this weekend, so I'm probably going to be going into some goods, some bads, and some very, very uglies. I made another one before this is the second recording of the... This is the second recording. The first one's probably going to be deleted, mainly because I got really heated, and again, it was before the beta had concluded and before I got some more games under my belt. But in all honesty, let's get through some of these. Let's get through some of the good, the bad, and the ugly. We'll start off with the good. Now, there's a lot of good in this. I will say that there is a lot of good in this actual game, and I'm going to be a little bit less harsh than probably some other people, but this is just my opinion, and I see a lot of good potential in this game, and you're going to see why I see a lot of that in the first place. So, number one, this is basically just an updated version of Left 4 Dead. I don't know what engine that it's running on, but it's running on a more interesting engine. The graphics look fine. They look really nice. They are bloody. It's gory. There is some damn good effects on like the guns and like the people when you're going through the level. I like that they get dirtier and dirtier as the level progresses, like with the blood and stuff. What I would have liked to see is maybe like a cleaning mechanic where you could clean off like your gun or wipe off some of the blood or shake off some of the blood off your person. But if you can't program that, that's fine. The blood effects on the people are fine. The blood effects on the enemies are absolutely great. The card system is definitely really nice. It's a good system in general, and I do like it. However, there are some drawbacks that I'm going to get into, but the card system does tend to liven up gameplay when you are able to pick your cards, and you'll see why I say that in a little bit. But the card system really does help. And yes, there's a lot of really good systems that are at play here. And yeah, it's basically an updated Left 4 Dead with some more mechanics and stuff like that. There's a very limited selection of guns, but there's a variety of different types of guns in that limited selection. You've got like LMGs, sniper rifles, marksman rifles, different layers of assault rifles, SMGs, pistols, shotguns, all that good jazz, some secondary, some primary, and some of them, a lot of them do tend to share ammo, which is nice. It leads to that whole more survival aspect, so there's not just like a pile of ammo that, how in Left 4 Dead there was to be a pile of ammo in specific locations. I also like that there is a lot to the runs, where there's random loot and random stuff that definitely spawns, and it does this time around feel very random. To the point of where sometimes you can get completely screwed over and sometimes you can blaze through an entire route if you're prepared enough. On the higher difficulties, I only got a couple of those runs in where I was on like veteran or higher, and I think veteran was definitely the way that I would think that you would want to play this if you're a more hardcore person. For, let's say, someone coming back from Left 4 Dead, that's a very good method to do that. Most of the guns are okay. The RPG mechanics are a little bit wonky, but once you get used to them, they're fine. There's like 3 or 4 different tiers of weapons, and there's mounted weapons and weapons that kill. There's a lot of different varieties of stuff. You can upgrade weapons and everything. And there's basically several different types of tiers of attachments as well. Of all the attachments out there, there are like actual attachments that go up to purple and sometimes even gold rank. Which is some of the best attachments in the game. They definitely they do something, but I'm not sure by how much they do certain things. I mean, most of them felt weird. Most of them felt like whatever. The accuracy was okay and everything like that. The things like the hollow point rounds were okay. The best thing that I can say from the attachments point of view would have to be the extended mags and the quick release mags, like the ones that increase your reload speed. Both of those were actual game changers. They definitely made the guns feel better. Sounds of the guns are good. Sounds of the people are good. They're very well voice acted, very well characterized. I will say, though, that the interaction between them is far superior, in my opinion, to something like Left 4 Dead. Not to say that Left 4 Dead was bad in that context. However, I will say that the interaction between the characters is definitely good. There's a lot more banter, a lot more talking about it. They're not just like boomer there and like very authoritarian or very like stuff like that. There is some conversation stuff, much like in Left 4 Dead. I feel like that there's more to that, and it's really good. So for the whole campaign, there are a lot of really good things in the whole campaign and the whole level. And in all honesty, it feels the campaign one feel like run one that was offered was really good, and about like most of the characters were unlocked. A few of them were locked, like Doc and a couple others. Which is fine because again it's a beta. They wanted to test a few things, but fucking I really wanted to play some of the more support heavy type characters and support type stuff. But whatever. Anyway, so yeah, let's get into the negatives now. Since we've talked about this game up, let's knock this game down a few pegs. One of the big things that I can say for certain that I don't like is the ability to not join a run that's not in progress, or not like a run that's like automatically starting. What I mean by this is that I would like another way to join a run that someone is starting up rather than a run that's already in progress, because of the fact that the characters are just as important as the card systems. And that's one of the big problems with this system, is that I spent all this time making this deck, specifying it to my perfectionism, making all these characters that I like, and I found my characters that I liked, but I was only able to like choose the deck and choose the character that I wanted to when I was really playing with my friend, and only one other time when I was playing in a random lobby. All the other times I had to take over a bot, or I was more or less forced to take over a bot, and they didn't have the card or the selection that I actually fucking wanted. It was just awful. Even if you can't allow the person to, at the very least, choose their, to choose their like person at the beginning of the run, or to choose the person mid-run, because it's whatever, that's fine. At least allow us to choose the deck, because if we can't choose our decks, we can't like get our anything going for us. Because if you join a thing mid-run, you're basically kind of screwing yourself over, as well as screwing everyone else over, because you're not built effectively enough for this high of a level of game if you go higher up in levels. It's ridiculous in my opinion. Of course, a lot of people complain about the price, it being a $60 game. This does not look, sound, or feel like a $60 game. This feels like a $30 to $40 game. I can completely agree with that. That is a legitimate criticism, and if the price does go down to that 30 or 40 price tag, they will have a lot more sales. I guarantee it. It is not worth the full AAA achievement that they're trying to go for. It's not that it's bad. It's not that it's bad at all. It's not that it's bad, in my opinion. There's very few random glitches. There's very few bad stuff about it that are game breaking and whatnot. But in my opinion, it is not worth the $30. It's not worth the $60 that they're offering it. For the same price, you can basically buy Left 4 Dead 2, and you can basically buy an entire team Left 4 Dead 2 to play cooperatively together. Heck, you can even start going into playing versus with your friends. You can literally buy this game 5 or 6 times over what they're currently offering for one copy of Back 4 Blood, which is, in my opinion, is a little bit like, yeah, that's a little bit upsetting there. I like some characters but not others, and that kind of feeds into the whole being able to choose your character thing. The one was offered, and only about and actually, like, this is another complaint of mine, only half of the levels are actual good levels. A very good level design-wise, I should say. The beginning half of the run is actually more forgettable than the latter half of the run, because since they offer around twice as many runs, the second part of that feels like more traditional Left 4 Dead stuff and more of what I want from this game. And it basically, the levels that I remember are the farm level, where you have to where you have to go to a farmhouse, cut through the woods, cut through a farmhouse, kill off a hive, and then that leads to a set piece where a train car like falls into a river and pushes up against a dam, and you have to cross it to get to the safe house. And then you go through a tunnel through the woods, finding an old shack with extra supplies, and then you have to make your way up to the church house and reinforce 4 of the windows in that church house in order to make it a safe location, and then shut the door behind you, and then just wait out the rest of the horde. And you have a constant horde on you at all times, and that is fantastic, and that's one of my most favorite levels ever. Then it's immediately followed by my next favorite level, where you have to go into another house, take out another hive, and then you have to activate a tow truck to lift up a car to then fucking book it down the road, get to the house at the end of the road while you're scaring all these birds away, and the horde is like coming down upon you. If you're not quick enough, they will tend to get you faster and down you all if you're not quick enough. You have to make a mad dash and then hold out in that building until the horde like subsides and whatnot. And then after that, you then go into the mines and start to having to destroy the mines, because you have to go in there to stop this horde from coming out to people. And then it leads into the final set piece, which then goes into where you then have to fire a howitzer 5 to 6 to 7-ish times, depending on the level of difficulty. You have to fire this thing off. You have to collect the ammo. You have to throw it. You have to clear the cache. You have to do all this other stuff. It is downright an epic finale. And when you finally get to the Humvee, you get to escape and crash through everything, and then that's the end of it. However, the first half of that whole run I don't remember, because it's not as good designed of levels. The latter half, all of that I just said, all those 4 like big set pieces and everything like that, those 4 levels are in the back half of this run. So that means that level is just not, that whole run is only half as good. And it even contains the worst level of all, in my opinion, of all of them, which is the ferry level. And that is essentially where you have to cross the now defunct George Washington Bridge and blow up the ferry that had crashed into the bridge. And it is a slogfest if you have the wrong team, if you have the wrong build, if you have the wrong everything. It is a slogfest. It is absolutely awful to try and tackle it with just random people. Why? Well, because if you don't have teamwork and you're not covering each other's asses the whole time while you're crossing that bridge, and you constantly have a horde on you, you cannot fucking win that at all. It is absolutely ridiculous. But yeah, once you get past that level, you then get to the latter half of that run, and then it's basically more or less smooth sailing until you get to the howitzer level, and then it's another big jump up and challenge. But I like that second half because a lot of the levels are actually fun to play and replay, and they're very well designed, including that final one. Even though there's some things that are known as the level design, that final one is definitely a great set piece to end on. So yeah, but to have an entire 8 run and only have half the levels be good means that it's not gonna offer me anything that I haven't seen before. Because if I wanted to do the 4 checkpoint thing with really good memorable scenes, I would just go back and play Left 4 Dead 2, in all honesty, because I remember most of the runs from Left 4 Dead 2. Like, they were short, they were sweet, they had such good level design, sometimes better level design than the other, sometimes better level design than Back 4 Blood. Even though it's much older, it somehow had better level design. Even in the first Left 4 Dead game, had some of the better design choices in terms of choke points and where to hold and where not to hold. This one feels more open, but also more empty in some cases. Especially when you're like going through the woods and stuff. But the atmosphere in Back 4 Blood is fantastic, on par, if not a little bit better than Left 4 Dead. So yeah, definitely positives and negatives there. Yeah, the ping system, that's a good positivity. Ping system is great. I used it all the time, especially when I wasn't using the microphone. You can ping literally anything with a quick ping of Q to say, hey, look over there, or hey, here's a shotgun or shotgun ammo or stuff like that. And that's a good way to annoy your teammates in some cases, but it's also a really good way to kind of point out specific things. There's also one that you can approve, disapprove, just in general show what's happening and where to go, group up, and stuff like that for C, which is what is always nice about that. That's pretty good. We've then also got... I never ever touched the versus mode. Never did really in the original Left 4 Dead either, so I can't comment too much on that. But I'm fairly certain it has the same sorts of deals. And to get consistent games, I pretty much had to enable crossplay because of how slow population and how many people kind of dropped off after the first day or two of this. So yeah. The runs are twice as long, as I said before, twice as long as the Left 4 Dead runs, which is probably both a positive and a negative. Positive because that means you get longer games and you get more set pieces, but then at the same time you get longer games and if you can't stay for the whole run, you don't get credit for the whole run, which is a little bit upsetting. There's also no way to transfer attachments. There's no way to take off specific attachments. Let's say you want to put a barrel on a different gun. There's no way to take just specifically that barrel off of that gun and then, put that barrel on a different gun. And that's probably done for some balancing purposes to say oh, do you want this gun that has it's a higher tier than the one that you have, but worse attachments, or do you want to keep the one gun that you have? And I guess that's where the Stark system comes in, where you can get a better gun that has base stats that are good, and then the star system kind of improves upon that, which is, I guess, okay. But in certain things, once you get a specific build with a purple gun, you're basically set for the rest of the game. And I would at least like to be able to transfer some of those to at least maybe even other people if I could, to say hey, do you want this this barrel for some reason because it looks like you're not doing as good, or are you running out of ammo? Here, have an extended mag because I don't really need it, or something like that. It would be nice to be able to do that, or at least have a card that enables you to do that, because that card would kind of be a little bit broken. Yeah, there's some bugs and glitches. Sometimes there was a couple of times where I was stuck in the spawn screen with no way to escape other than Alt F4ing the game or waiting for the timer to run out, because it just wouldn't allow me to do anything, and it said the run was abandoned and whatnot. It was just super, super bad in that case, and that can be game breaking and ridiculous sometimes. The camp is a nice touch. You could have made it a menu, but the camp is okay in keeping you nice and within the realm of this game. In all honesty, I think that it would have worked better if you made that camp into just a menu, and just had the firing range as an option to test stuff out. I mean, it's okay and it's fine to do that. It really honestly is. There's nothing wrong with making a camp, making that sort of connection or whatever. But I'd personally say that that's not my cup of tea, but it's fine. I mean, it's serviceable. It's a fun hub place to walk around with your friends. Yeah, and teamwork is essential. The mutations, I actually kind of liked the mutations in some cases, because the mutations were good. Having two variants of different kinds of mutations is very, very interesting, because in Left 4 Dead there was the whole special zombies. There was only one of everything, and once you knew how to deal with that one, it was really good. But with this one, you can kind of tell where the weak spots are, because they have those good video game weak spots. But they're kind of combinations and mixtures of of other previous ones, and they're kind of also mixtures of each other. The ones that were apparently there were the two spitter versions, where one would spit on you and it would just be acid damage to specifically you. There was the other one that would restrict you, which was the same one but looked a little differently. Those had the same weak spots. the two tall boy variants, or I call them tall boy variants. They had one was the Crusher and one was the Bruiser, similar to kind of like Charger type characters. One would grab you and like hold you down and grab and like fucking make you crush you to death. The other one would just crush you with its gigantic arm. Both of them had different weak spots there. There were the two Boomer type variants. One would vomit on you, one would just walk up and explode upon you, so that kind of was really nice. And again, it had the spitter effect as well, where it could also lay down a whole bunch of shit at the gross part of it, and it was absolutely gross and disgusting. And then there was the Hunter kind of variety, which it was interesting to see because if you don't know where they are, because the Hunter sort of variety was just these things that were stuck in the wall, and if you were not listening or paying attention, they could hop out and take you down. So they were kind of both a mixture of the Witch, wherein the Witch would be sitting in one place unless you basically went up to it or attacked it. But they're a lot easier to deal with. There was also the Screamer, which I only saw once, and I would say that that's the worst one of the mutations. Mainly because one, it's on higher difficulties, thankfully, but at the same time they're a little bit harder to deal with because I would at least like to see them not run away and scream, but run towards you and scream, and that scream would do damage as well as attract the horde, meaning that they would be a little bit easier to deal with, rather than them being in the back of the thing and you have to deal with the whole horde type stuff, and then you have to then kill that last thing in order to stop the horde from coming. But that's a little bit outside of anything else. But yes, that's really all I have to say on that whole topic, I think. But yeah. Anything else that we have on the docket here? Anything else? Nope, I don't think so. I think that's everything I wanted to talk about. So, to bring this to some sort of conclusion, very good idea, very good base concept, very nice level design in the latter half, meaning that whoever they hired on for the latter half, you do all of those good levels, put them in more of those levels, is fine. The set pieces were nice, the blood and gore effects were absolutely fantastic at points, the graphics were good. I liked the variations and the mutations and how to deal with them differently. I appreciated that they were tough but fair depending on the difficulty. I also liked the teamwork aspects in some of these where, again, they brought back some of the mechanics from Left 4 Dead. And the reason why I'm making a lot of these comparisons to Left 4 Dead is because Turtle Rock Studios was the people who also made Left 4 Dead, the series. So I think this is kind of like their return to form. For the negatives, I would say the price is too high. There's a few game-breaking bugs and glitches. There is no way to pick at least at the very minimum, a deck mid run. That's a little upsetting. There's no way to pick your characters mid run, but I don't expect that to be a big thing. It's more the deck that I'm kind of up in arms about, because at least let us pick the deck, because if not, guess what, that's super upsetting. Or at least let us pick something different than just the starting deck, so we can have a default deck that if we're joining a raid in progress, that's the deck that we want to be able to build our characters around. That would be easily fixable. It's, again, not really worth the price of it. If it was $30, if it was $40, even pushing at $40, it would be more worth it, in my opinion. The different the versus mode is, again, a mode that I don't think a lot of people are going to touch. Some of the other characters we didn't really get to see or test. There is some good stuff here, but there is a lot of bad stuff here. The fairy that either needs a redesign or just needs to be the ending to a different run entirely. The supply lines and the menu is both good and bad. The RPG elements are both good and bad. There's no way to take off attachments, and there's definitely no good way for me to say and recommend that you buy this game day one. Either wait for a price drop or something else like that. Whew! Okay, that was a lot to get through, but I will say if you made it this far into the video, thank you so much for watching. My name is GamePenguin21, and I think that's really all it. So yeah. Anyway, guys, peace off.